Good morning, St. Louis. It is 7 a.m. on a Tuesday. So, y'all know what time it is. It's time for the St. Louis Hustle Podcast with your boy, CORTEZ Hustle, and my girl, Michelle. Hey, where you at, Michelle? Hey, no, seriously, Michelle's having some technical difficulties and she will be on shortly. But in the meantime, we're talking about how high the hemp revolution, right? What is the deal with marijuana as we are approaching the biggest marijuana holiday in the world, 420? Tomorrow, we thought we have a conversation about marijuana. Are you for legalization? Are you against it? What is the deal when it comes to marijuana? We're going to talk all about that today and some little known facts that you probably don't know about this miracle plant known as Mary Jane. And we're going to get all the way into it. So do me a huge favor, comment in the chat where you're from, drop the name of your business and or your brand, smash that share button, ladies and gentlemen, and let's kick it this morning.
Growing up in St. Louis has never been easy, and most say if you want to succeed here, that you must leave and put down roots somewhere else because of the strong crabs in a barrel mentality here.
I don't know if I'm just an optimistic person, but to see people like Chuck Berry and Nelly make it in the music industry, or the Roberts brothers and Dave Stewart in business, or William Lacey Clay Jr. in politics, can we blame the city, or is it that people just aren't hungry enough?
We're talking to all of the movers and shakers in this town, from entertainers to politicians, social activists and organizers, and of course, entrepreneurs.
Is there a curse on this city that holds people back? Is there an unseen hand that decides who makes it and who doesn't? You're about to find out.
Welcome to St. Louis Hustle.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the St. Louis Hustle Podcast. I'm your host, CORTEZ Hustle, usually alongside my girl, Michelle A, this morning, but she was having some technical difficulties, so she will be popping back in the stream shortly. But today we're talking about 420. As you guys know, 420 is tomorrow. And for those of you who do not know the significance of 420, we're going to talk a little bit about that today, and it's all about Mary Jane, the ganja, marijuana, the hemp plant, the goofy dust, as my mother-in-law used to call it. We're going to talk about the pros and the cons. Are you for the legalization of marijuana? Are you against it? What about medicinal purposes? How do we make a difference between all of the various ways that this plant could be used? And if we are talking legalization of Mary Jane, does that mean that all the people who were locked up behind this plant and all of that, so does that mean that they get to be set free? I don't know. That's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to need your comments because I want to get your thoughts on this as well. So as you guys know, before we get started, we normally ask Michelle how was her weekend, but she's rebooting her system so she can come on online. So let me see. But I got some great stuff that I want to share with you guys here. Oh yes. All right, so I'm just sharing this over to my other page to make sure that everybody knows where we are and how it is going down today. So real quick, a couple quick announcements. If you have a Roku player in your house, make sure that you go check out Unheard TV as a channel. You can download that to your Roku player, and there's a show on there called the Black Biz Success Show that you might want to check out. Handsome Ballhead fella is the host of that show, and he brings some great information on how Black businesses can win. So you might want to check that out. Also, if you know anybody in the credit repair industry and they're looking for a sales system to make more money in that industry, then have them holler at your boy. And then real quick, I want to share with you this event. For those of you who do indulge in the goofy dust, the ganja, the marijuana, the Mary Jane, the reefer, as it used to be called way back in the day. There's an event going down in St. Louis to celebrate 420 called Blunts versus Joints. That's right. Free Domino's Pizza, edible dessert bar. You can bring your own booze. You can bring your own weed. It's a smoke-friendly place, games. DJ Homicide is going to be spinning the music at this spot. $5 drink specials. Hookah is on deck as well. It's by Scenic Events, and it is the Graffiti Loft, downtown St. Louis, Missouri. Cost is $40 to get in, so you guys can go and check that out at your leisure. The tickets are on Eventbrite, so I'll grab the Eventbrite link and drop that in the comments as well. Let's see if I can find that Eventbrite link. There we go. Blunts versus joints. All righty, let's see. There we go. Boom. So drop that link to that event in the comments there as well. All right, real quick. So when it comes to this conversation of marijuana, we typically think that there was a real reason for the banning of marijuana. And if you've ever seen documentaries like the Hemp Revolution, and there's a few more out there as well, it paints an interesting picture. Let's see if we get Michelle A in the building. Hey.
And I tell you, Charter, Spectrum, whatever y'all name is. Woo, mercy.
All right. All right. Well, welcome to the show. I was just about to tell the people how your weekend was. I guess you can tell them now. Looks like you froze again, Michelle. We're gonna get on Charter. Go ahead. Tell us how was your weekend, sis.
I would just say like.
All right. Well, Michelle is still figuring out her deal. I used to be that guy who was heavy into conspiracy theories and all of that kind of stuff. And although I have been, what is this? We're going into May 2022. I will celebrate 21 years clean and sober. Right now, I used to be a pot head, so much so that I wrote a song about it, and I might have to play that for y'all one day. And that was my jam. I smoked about a quarter ounce of weed every day for about 6 or 7 years. Like it was bad for me. But although I do not indulge, and when I was starting to do this study and this research, I wasn't indulging then either. But I was going down the path of trying to understand how something like marijuana gets banned as a medicine, as a use, but we can still have something like alcohol, we can have tobacco and other addictive substances, other substances that alter one's state, one's mood. And I started looking at documentaries like Hemp Revolution. I started looking at the history of marijuana, when marijuana was legal, and what happened that sent us down this path where marijuana became illegal. And as I started to go down that rabbit hole of conspiracy theory, then I really found myself learning a lot about this goofy dust, this Mary Jane plant, and why it was banned, and why they kept it out of the hands of everyday people. I think one of the first things I saw was Race for the Cure, right? And if you're not familiar with this documentary called Race for the Cure, let me look up the gentleman's name. I think it's Rick Simpson. Let me, or it's called Run for the Cure, I think. Maybe, or maybe it's run from the cure. Nevertheless, yeah, it's run from the cure. Rick Simpson's Phoenix Tears. So I was, and how I started going down this rabbit hole. I was studying alternative medicine and self healing and food as medicine and things of that nature. And I saw this documentary on this guy Rick Simpson, and he literally found out how hemp, Mary Jane oil, was used to cure and let me not say cure, eradicate skin cancer. So what he did was he had a skin cancer lesion on his face, and he basically took some marijuana, boiled it down, and highly concentrated it into a tar-like substance. Put that on his skin cancer lesion, and it went away. Right. Then he started taking that same concoction and sharing it with other people. And all it was pure THC. Like he literally would take a pound of weed and he would extract the THC using some sort of solvent, usually alcohol. And then he'd burn off the alcohol, and what's left is nothing but pure THC tar. Right. And he found that that was a great tonic, and it really, really did a number on a variety of different diseases, right? So this guy goes to the local police station and says, "Listen, I have the cure. I need y'all to give me all the ganja that you have ever confiscated, and I'm going to turn that into this wonderful cure that's fighting cancer and other diseases," right? And they thought he was crazy, of course. Not to be deterred, he went home and started growing his own marijuana. And of course, and he's out of Canada. So I believe at that time in Canada, you were able to have a certain amount of plants if you grew it yourself for your own personal pleasure and purposes, right? But he was growing way too much. And they ultimately end up locking him up and trying him and all that kind of stuff. So it's a wonderful story. But he literally ran dozens of people in front of the judge when they were, going through trial to give their testimonies and say, how that Rick Simpson's concoction, alleviated their pain, it alleviated the diseases, the illnesses that they were suffering from, and all kinds of stuff. So long story short, he didn't end up going to jail, but he did end up being convicted of, I think, growing marijuana or something like that. It's a crazy story, but at the end of the day, you saw how the medicinal properties and use cases for this great plant of ours called marijuana, and it was very, very effective in its use. So let me know, do you have any experience with Mary Jane and its healing properties, right? I know a lot of people who smoke ganja every day. It goes beyond just getting high. I remember as I smoked, one of the things that I suffered from was insomnia, right? As a kid, I went through some trauma. I was sexually molested and abused, neglected. And that left me with some trauma that made it very, very difficult for me to sleep, right? And then I stumbled across that Mary Jane, right? And I would smoke, and basically I would use it to go to sleep. But then eventually I got addicted. Then of course it became a social thing. All of my buddies were smoking, and then we saw Cypress Hill talk about putting marijuana in cigars, and they started talking about blunts and all the music. And naturally, I went straight to the store and got me a 5-pack of Philly blunts and dumped out all of the tobacco and filled it with weed. And then from that point, I was smoking about a quarter ounce of weed at minimum every day for about 3 or 4 years. It was bad in terms of my addiction to Mary Jane. And I think most people are addicted at somewhere around that level. They won't admit it. But when you can't stop doing a thing on your own, and I'll tell you, when I knew I was addicted, I would literally smoke. And before I'm even finished smoking my blunt or my joint, I'm already anticipating how long it's going to take me to come down off this high so I can smoke again. Like, I couldn't even enjoy the high that I was partaking in because I was thinking about the next one, right? When this is how you know you got an addiction going on. When you have to make up excuses to smoke. Yeah, I take the kids to the park. Why am I taking my sons to the park? Because I wanted to let them go play, and I wanted to slip off to the side and watch them from a distance and spark up. Oh, yeah, I'll drive you on the other side of town. Why? Because on that ride, we would blaze up, right? Yeah, man, let's drive to Eureka and get some fireworks. Not because we couldn't go to St. Charles or somewhere closer to get some fireworks, but if we took a nice long ride on the highway, played some good music, usually some Breed and Tupac, High Till I Die, right? I gotta get mine, gotta get yours, right? Like, just I literally found myself making excuse after excuse to smoke. So I knew I had a problem with it, and I don't have a problem with people smoking for leisure and for pleasure. You do what your own thing. I get that it's illegal still recreationally in Missouri, I believe, but just like drinking is legal and at one time was prohibited, right? And then they brought it back. They're basically doing the same thing with marijuana. It was legal. It was a cash crop, believe it or not, even before cotton. And then it became illegal. And now people are advocating for it to become legal again. And I think ultimately it's going to become legal medicinally and recreationally all across the country here soon. So what are your experiences with Mary Jane? I pulled some images off the good old internet, and I wanted to share with you guys some of these things because, and then I'm going to share with you 7 little known facts or uses for hemp. And this is from the USA Today. So this isn't hidden history, ladies and gentlemen. They know the power of this plant as a medicine. They know the power of this plant in medicinal, and industrial uses. They know the power of this industry. And we're going to talk about some things that, some opportunities that we are missing, especially as Black people, because we're still not financially able to get into some of these spaces. There she is. I think you're good. You are not freezing up. Let me see what your audio sounds like.
Turn me up in my headphones. I'm in the studio with these things on.
All right. So you want to quickly tell them how was your weekend? And
I want to tell them how my morning was. I think I'm finna smoke right now. I don't even smoke, but I'm finna go outside. Apparently my neighbors smoke, so I'm finna go knock on one of my neighbors' doors and be like, "Hey, whatever y'all smoking on, can I get some? It's been a rough morning." Quickly, weekend. Was Easter weekend. You gotta love Resurrection Sunday. It was awesome. Yep. And I would just say this, I got my new church home. I just love it. I love my pastor.
So this is your first Easter.
Yes, at Influence.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it was so dope. Like, I love a church that stretches you and exposes you to things that you maybe don't see in the hood. And we got locations that are, because it's a multicultural church. So we have our location in North County. We got Festus, Try being a black man starting a church in Festus. Boy, he fought. He said he fought all the demons that year. All of them. They lined up. And he was knocking them down one by one, but they sure got in line. They came for him. But they got Festus, South County, U City, South Side, and North County. And what they did at each location, which was so dope, they did an egg drop, right? And my pastor just gangsta. I didn't even go. They did an egg drop. We put eggs out on the line, but then they had a helicopter that flew over and dropped the eggs. Boom, 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 and the kids went nuts. They went nuts because most,
they kids did an egg drop with a helicopter. It was so dope. I was trying to record, but I was so caught up like a kid with my head in the air and my mouth open. It was dope, and the kids loved it. My pastor does, I believe he does 4 services on Sunday. And the only way for him to make it between North County, South County, Festus, and back around again is he got a helicopter himself. Helicopters around, like
man, man, he helicopter, man. He pulled up, he came right, gave the word, shook a few hands. You know what I'm saying? We have every campus has a campus pastor, which I think is pretty smart, you know. So that's who runs the pastors and shepherds and all that. He comes in, does it, hops in the chopper, man, up and off. It was awesome. I will say this: the one comedic moment was ran into one of my exes at the thing, which I thought it was fine. You know, you
ran into an ex at the church.
I ran into an ex, man, and he had recently gotten married, and which I congratulated him. Hey, how you doing? Congratulations. And he looked like he saw a ghost when he saw me, but I was like, hey, you know, good morning. But the missus went in first. They went in and sat out because it was super packed. Man, when they did the Easter egg thing again, you know me, I got my hands sleeve rolled up and volunteer. So his wife, not knowing who I was, hey, can I get some Easter bags for my kids? Sure. Gave her some bags. He did the introduction at that moment. Now, you saw me when you went in for service. You should have softened the blow. Say, hey, I ain't know she attended here. I saw her, blah, blah, blah. Man, she got them Easter bags. He took that time to say, Michelle, this is my wife. I was like, oh, hi. The look on her face was like, I was like, oh.
On Easter Sunday, you going to give me that look.
That look, I was like, oh, I'm going to just go that way. I'm going to go somewhere and let y'all do that. Then later on, I saw him over by the trees with this. I was like, oh, stay in my lane.
Yeah.
Stay in my lane. It was a great weekend.
Gotcha. Love it. Do you have a word of the day for us?
You know what? We're going to say the word. We're going to say the word for next week because Charter interrupted y'all's word. Sorry, Lord. We're going to blame that one on Charter because they was on some bullshit this morning.
Gotcha. All right. Well, the would-be Michelle A word of the day is brought to you by Scenic Events. And they are hosting this wonderful event for you guys who are loving. I don't protect myself. I was just telling them, Michelle, I'll be 21 years clean next month.
What? Come on, 21 years.
So, but if you do partake for $40, you can go to the Blunts versus Joints events, which I thought that was a cool name because if you're in that space, then you know old school people still smoke joints. The youngins, they smoke blunts, right?
Yeah.
So they're gonna have free pizza, edible dessert bar, $5 drink specials. Hookah is on deck. DJ Homicide, I believe, will be on the 1s and 2s. And it is tomorrow night, 4/20, at the Graffiti Loft downtown St. Louis. It is a smoke-friendly event. I believe. I didn't think that was illegal, but okay.
Right.
I's dotted and T's crossed, so they understand what's going on there. But check them out. I put the link in the comments. It's you can go get your tickets on the event. Right.
You have it till you sit downtown. No. I said, we can't do this in South County? No, downtown. Okay. No, you know what? That's funny. Not that I partake anymore on a regular basis, but anyway. I just gotta say that's a unique idea. Blunts versus joints. You gotta work too hard to really with a joint. I should have never been. That's a whole lot of work going on just to try to get anywhere. I got a cousin. Hey girl, because she probably watching. Hey girl, man. She was like, "Shell, they know it's me." Look straight ahead. But you gotta work too hard. my kids introduced me to blunts. I was like, oh, this is much easier. Y'all know my experience with what are the edibles?
Mm-hmm.
Edibles. That is what the Lord needed to do to say, Shell, none of this life ain't for you. Because
Get out
edibles,
of this lane.
Get out this lane. You ain't about that life, and I'm not. I am not. Edibles killed the weed game for me.
Mm-hmm.
I told you I got so high on the edible, I called 911. They refused to take me. They said, "Ma'am, you called us because you high? No, you're gonna wait this one out.
You're gonna sit in this. You're gonna sit in this misery. Yes, you're gonna deal with this yourself, lady. There's a lesson in this for you."
Exactly what they said. It's, oh, you finna get all this work. Oh no, you didn't stop us from going to a gunshot wound because you got too high. Oh no, enjoy the high.
And we still gonna send you this $7,500 ambulance bill.
And we still right. And we still sending you the bill. It was, so I was like, you know what? I'm cool, Lord. That ain't the lane I need to be in. That's not my swim lane, as they say in the corporate world. I'm good. That was what he needed to do to stop me. I've stopped.
So let's ask the question. Here's the debate. Are you for the legalization across the board for medicinal and recreational purposes? Should our people be able to go and buy a pack of cigarettes, marijuana cigarettes, the way they go buy a pack of tobacco cigarettes?
Ooh, people need to weigh in on that one. I know all my buzz smokers going to be like, hell yeah. But I think it's going that way. Especially with them legalizing it now. We never thought we'd see a black president, but we saw that. We never thought it's being slowly legalized, but it's still being legalized. So you know what? Give it another 5 to 10 years, and you probably can go up to a vending machine and be like, okay, Cheetos, Doritos, blunts. I'll take a blunt. Add some Doritos.
Right. Or let me take the blunts first.
Right.
So I want some Doritos later.
Exactly. I don't doubt that that'll happen with the way that the world is going. Is it going to be the best thing for our society? There are so many people that it's funny. I have another relative, and he actually, there's a legal way. You have to get your licensing and everything to grow weed and all of that. I can't shout him out because I ain't got permission, but hats off to him. You know who he is. Mm-hmm. He went the legal route, got the licensing that he needed to get, and grows and farms it here locally. Right. And he makes products. Now, I don't know if he sells locally because I don't know if he can. But like if they got the medical card, he hooks them up. But he makes butters, jams. He got, I don't know what he called the juice, but I heard the juice is off the chain. I'll never know. Yeah. But he sells all kinds of things for medicinal purposes with that in it. So
and I'm all for it. See, I believe that when it comes to, I just don't think you can play favorites, right? I think because it's labeled as a Schedule II narcotic, I don't think it is, right? So a Class II or a Schedule II narcotic is cocaine, is heroin, it is
educate me.
Right. And I don't think you put weed on that level. I think weed, even though it's a longer lasting high, I think it is a high that is equivalent to that of smoking tobacco. And I think if you've ever,
cigarette never did that to me.
If you've ever smoked a cigarette and paid attention to the nicotine buzz, like you don't get it if you've been around and if you smoked before, but if you smoke a cigarette for the first time, or if you smoke a cigar for the first time, you're going to get incredibly high for a brief moment, right?
Memo to self.
It's that, and it's a different type of buzz. Now, who's to say that if I was chewing raw tobacco, I wouldn't get that longer buzz, but maybe the reason that high is so short is because of the commercialization of it. So maybe the commercialization of marijuana can be in a way where it reduces the effect a little bit, since you're going to be doing this more habitually. I don't know. But if you look at alcohol, for instance, the buzz that you get from alcohol, that's a longer lasting buzz. And we know that they were able to look at the amount of alcohol in one's bloodstream to determine whether or not you are drunk and whether you should not operate heavy machinery like a car. I think eventually testing will show up and say, hey, here's the legal limit of the amount of THC that you can have in your system at any one time that will affect your ability to drive a car, to work your job, or whatever the case may be. And I think it's going to be, I think it should have that same level of legislation around it, but also the same amount of freedoms and ability to enjoy it recreationally.
Okay, so, and I want to make sure you caught me. Something you said caught me. If it becomes commercialized, can it, okay, so 2 questions. Can it ever really truly become commercialized, right? Because I think it's been underground for so long, so to speak, for lack of a better term. And it's the one thing that people know how to do well on their own. They know how to grow it, be it legal or not. They don't need to go. What I need to go to your dispensary. Now, there's folks out there that are really pumping big money into the dispensaries because they have all of these tricks and flips they do with it. But folks that grow it themselves, that I know what I'm doing, this is how I'm growing and cultivating. Can you ever really commercialize those ones? That's the first part of the question, because they'll always know how to get it probably better than a commercialized version. And then number 2, how long before it becomes you buy societal weed versus backdoor weed or backyard weed? And if you buy back, we know the difference. If you bought back like moonshine, right? Yeah. You bought this backyard weed, you're going to jail. But if you go over here to the dispensary and get the controlled weed, that gives you, I guess that's maybe what you're saying, is probably move in that direction where they can, almost like we talked about last week with cryptocurrency, where the government can control how much is used and not used. And
absolutely. And I think what you're going to see is that's always going to exist. I don't care what it is. You have a black market for everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
You got a black market for kidneys. I can go to the doctor and get me a kidney, but there's a black market that I can go and have somebody roll me into an alley with in a hearse. And if I got enough money, somebody will perform a kidney surgery on me and try to get me a kidney, right? So there's a black market for everything. And I don't think you're going to be able to stop that. But here's what commercialization does to everything. It brings in such a convenience that most of the people who can do it themselves, they won't.
They're not.
There's a time where we all grew our own food and greens and stuff in our backyard. But when I can go down to the supermarket and get them, we start doing that. There was a time where my great grandmother used to have to raise her own chickens and her own hogs and her own everything, and she would take them to the slaughterhouse to save a few bucks. But then when she realized, I just go buy me a whole slab of bacon, and somebody else already killed it, slaughtered it, cleaned it. I didn't have to raise it, and I just went and bought. So the commercialization of it will actually kill a lot of the backyard growers. Now, there are some people who are just committed to the craft. Like there's some people who are just committed to growing their food organically, and you'll never run those people out of business. Right. But most people who are doing it because it's illegal, because they are saving a few dollars, when it becomes fully commercialized, and you mean to tell me I can go get a whole 5-pack of blunts that are perfectly rolled and everything already, and I ain't got to do nothing, and I can choose my brand. Like I can get the purple Urkel, I can get the whatever Mike Tyson's brand is. I can get the all Mike of these different brands. Yeah.
Wait. You ain't gonna just sneak that one in and think it's gonna be okay, sir. Okay, so you gonna stop this foolishness right now. Mike Tyson got a brand of weed.
Steve Urkel got purple.
No, Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson has his own. Mike Tyson has a 420 ranch. He's got
Man,
like
you know
a
what?
1,000-acre ranch that's a resort that you go to, and they cater to you just like a regular resort. Got swimming
Wow.
pools, all of that stuff. But
Wow.
instead of handing you a margarita, they hand you a blunt, a tray full of blunts. Hey,
I wouldn't want to smoke no weed came from Mike Tyson because you don't know what the effects is going to be.
Listen, Mike is big in that space, and his
Wow.
podcast is hilarious.
I bet.
They call his podcast is called Hot Box. You get in the hot box with Mike Tyson, and you actually smoke weed and talk trash from Mike Tyson for an hour and a half.
Wow.
That's what you do on the space. And Kevin Hart, I listened to Heart to Heart on XM with Kevin Hart, and he was talking about having to go and do Mike's podcast, and they was like, man, what are you gonna do when Mike Tyson pass you the blunt? Like, you gonna tell Mike Tyson, no, you ain't gonna have to smoke, man. What you think I'm gonna do? I'm not here for that smoke.
Right, yeah. I don't want the other.
But he actually did not smoke when he was on there with Mike Tyson. But it's hilarious. But no, Mike Tyson bought an actual ranch.
Wow.
And converted it into kind of like a luxury resort for people who indulge and partake. So you got everything that a resort has, but you can literally go and see how it's grown. You can then go and see how it's processed. They have the different strains. They got a great marijuana education around it. And then you just kick back, and it's a resort. Like it's dope. And he has his own brand, his own strain that you can get. And basically, it's a dispensary right there on the spot. So
wow, that's wow. And I love my own ignorance. I ain't gonna lie. I love the fact I've been to a dispensary one time in my whole little life, and I was really blown away at the because Illinois, of course, is legal. I was really blown away at how pretty it was on the inside. It's so pleasing to the eye palate, to the eyes. And it smells good. It doesn't smell like a weed house. You got all of these different scents going they know how to tap into the senses for your eyes and your nose and your taste. The candy. I think it was one of the first. That's what had me tricked, thinking I could do it edible. I bought this candy bar, and it had marshmallows and honey golden grams on top. And I said, "Oh, this is a fat girl drink right here." And I had it, and I should have knew something was wrong when I was driving home. The ground looked like it was in the windshield. I was like, "Why is the ground so close? Why is the ground so close to the car? I feel like I can reach through the windshield and touch the ground." They know how to appeal to the senses. And I guess for me, once it becomes commercialized and they get control of it, because right now, there's always bad people hiding, folks, and not everybody, there's always someone trying to take you higher. And I think that's the scary part about weed is when you buy it from someone, backyard weed, there's always somebody trying to take you higher and sell more, and theirs is different and better. They put other stuff in there, and so then you hear about stories on the news all the time, people buying weed that's been laced with something else, because they're trying to get the next level of high when really that Jesus is the best high that you can. I've been waiting to hit that one. These the best high that you can. Hey, wow, Jesus.
I remember I went in and to a brother's place to get my regular stash, and I remember there was somewhat of a shortage, so you'd have to find different spots to go to. And I remember this guy was spraying Windex on the weed. So, and the reason is because really good weed, really good quality weed sometimes has an ammonia-like smell to it. So if you got some weed that isn't so good and you want to trick people into making them believe that it's good, then Windex is what? It's basically ammonia. Wow. So now you're giving bad weed the ammonia smell. And here's what's significant about that for my entrepreneurs out there, right? Because that's a move that says, wait a minute, even if the weed itself isn't good, and doesn't get me as high as a good quality grain, a grade of weed, because it smells like a good quality grade, then the placebo effect kicks in. Because it smelled like some good stuff, when I smoked it, I tricked myself into believing I was as high as I would have been if I actually smoked some good stuff, and it was probably some dirt weed. That's why he's spraying Windex on it. And I saw the Windex bottle on there, and I'm like, I know what he's doing, but I'm about his weed, and I'm gonna smoke it anyway. Like it's hard to get certain things past me, Michelle, but I'm like, okay, Windex bottle, like you look around, we in the weed house, and you look around, ain't nothing look like it's had any type of cleaning done to it whatsoever. But you got a bottle of Windex sitting on the table.
Ooh,
like, you
Jesus.
on a glass table, and it's a coffee stain right here at Jigga. So I know you ain't using the Windex to do no cleaning. What is you
didn't interrupt spring cleaning, is what you say.
I did not. He was not a window washer, right?
That
he
is
was
hilarious.
Not a professional window washer. He was using that
hilarious.
Windex to give his ganja a different type of smell. And I knew that. Yeah. And I bought it anyway.
You still partake? You bought it?
Me and my homeboys. And I told him, I said, man, this Jigga in here spraying Windex on weed, man. Roll it and shut, man. Let's go.
You know what? So y'all got Windex high. That's a good clean high right there. That's a good clean high. Two things. I know I can't even put it out like that. I love you. Love you, sissy. But I remember my daughter bought some weed from my sister. And this is, again, when you're not a smoker and you only smoke here and again, I don't care about the strains. I don't care. Because it whatever. So, but I smoked this weed that she got from my sister. And when I tell you they had me acting like Smokey on Friday, I was in the gas station. I just felt so paranoid. I felt like everybody was watching me and they knew I was high. And then that's how you know you ain't supposed to be high, is you're paranoid. Like they can see I'm high and I ain't supposed to be high. I start hiding. I was inside of this. They have the rounder with the sunglasses and the hats and stuff, the phone accessories, a little rounder. I hid behind that. My daughter was like, she knew. She was like, Mama, get out of there. She said, what are you doing? They can see me. Never again. Another point I wanted to make, a few weeks back, and it's similar. I was my pastor was telling this story about I'm a tither, and so it's amazing how he tithing into a weed store. I was like, do tell. But you are creative.
That boy good. Sexy chocolate. That boy good.
That boy good. You could tie it into a weed store. And I was like, do tell. He said he was at the barber. He was at his barber's, and they were talking about, he said, people always want to, he's a down-to-earth pastor. My pastor's like early 40s, So he said his barber was telling him about why he didn't, like going to church. I love God, and I know the word is this, but it's just every time I go to church, they want some money. And he's like, well, brother, God only wants 10%. He was like, yeah, but that just seems like so much. So he's like, okay, how much you make cutting hair? Would you say a week? He said about $1,000 a week. He said, okay, you obviously smoke weed. Out that $1,000, how much do you spend on smoking weed? He said, probably about $300 a week. He said, okay, so $300 a week. For that right. So that money right there, you're gonna give $300 a week to smoking weed. You put into that, God only wants $10 or $100 out of $100 out of that $1,000. You do the math on it and tell us they want too much money. Seems like your weed man wants too much money. I was like, ooh, ding, check. He was like, he was right. He was like, seems like the weed man is who you want to be mad at, because he's taking all your money, not God. He only wants 10. So yeah, it's something to think about, but it's a lot of, the habit is expensive. Whether it's dispensary or it's backyard weed, it's expensive.
It gets expensive, and then especially when you become a connoisseur, right? When you become a connoisseur and you started to realize the difference, right? And it's like, man, I want the good stuff, right? And so I'm going to show you this, because a lot of people don't understand why and how marijuana became outlaw, right?
Mm.
Marijuana was a cash crop before cotton. The
Really?
founding fathers of this country all had hemp farms because
Okay.
before we were making clothes with cotton, we were making clothes with hemp, right?
Okay. I
I
believe it.
believe the first American flag was made with hemp and not cotton, right?
Mm.
Because it's a longer lasting material. And I mean, the Constitution of the United States was written on hemp paper, right?
Okay.
So that was a thing. It was huge. It was a big deal. And just like cocaine was in everything back in
Mm.
the day before it became a drug,
Mm.
and then it can only be used by the pharmaceutical companies, and it's still in almost every drug, right? Marijuana was in everything. So I pulled up some old school marijuana remedies. So if
Oh.
you look at these, you're seeing, hey, here's some oils, here's some drinks, here's some rubs, here's some tinctures, and what are we selling today in the medicinal space? It's just coming full
Wow.
circle. We're
Yeah.
going back to putting it back into the same forms that it originated in. Like this stuff was in everything. And if you know anything
Wow.
about the strains of cannabis, then you see this is the indica strain, right? The indica strain, I believe, is the strain that has a more sleepy type of effect. So you take,
Mm.
and it's the most medicinal in terms of, because we know that the body can repair itself.
Mm.
Sometimes you just need something to knock your A double dollar signs out so you can rest long enough for your body to heal itself. So
Right. Right.
while the indica strain still has the THC in it, but it makes you sleepy. So that's where that lethargy comes in when some people get smoke and they start moving in slow motion. That's an indica strain, right? So go ahead.
Question. Okay, this education. Welcome to Education Theater. So, and this is what I don't understand about weed. If you just have weed, you got a weed farm. Is the THC, is that naturally in weed, like the weed from 30 years ago,
Mhm.
40 years ago? Did it
Mhm.
have THC in it? Is THC naturally in weed, or is that an additive that's put in weed?
It's natural. It's a naturally occurring substance in the marijuana plant. Just
THC.
like just like with the coca leaf, it is if you were in the wilderness in Colombia and you ran across a coca plant
Mm.
and you grab a coca leaf and you bit it, it will make your tongue numb and tingly. Now, in that one leaf, it's not enough to really get you high. You have to eat a bunch of them. So
Come back with
that's
a stack
why,
of leaves.
right?
Like
That's
them.
why they take all the leaves and they combine them and they extract the cocaine and they concentrate it, just like with the sugar cane, right? Where our sugar comes from. If I go in the wilderness and I get a cane of sugar and I nibbled on it, it is sweet, but it ain't like a grain of sugar sweet. But when they extract all of the fiber out of it and they concentrate it, then it
Gotcha.
becomes super sweet, so much so that it becomes addictive. The same thing is true
Gotcha.
with marijuana. THC is natural in the marijuana side, but the cannabis plant has the marijuana side and it has the hemp side. Hemp grows in a way that there is no psychoactive properties in hemp, right?
What
And then the
difference
sister
between,
plant is the marijuana. So that's it.
so they're not
One.
the same? They're hemp is
So
not,
if you
sorry.
know anything about horticulture, and you know that almost every plant has a brother and sister plant to it.
Okay.
And so you have a plant that look identical, and then you in the wilderness with your guy, and they're like, no, don't eat that one. That one's poisonous. But you can eat this
Okay.
one. They look just alike. Yeah, but this one will kill you. This one won't. It's the
Gotcha.
same thing with marijuana, except the THC won't kill you, just get you high. This one has no effect at all. So I think when you think about the THC, what's going on in today is just like with all the other plants, when it becomes commercialized, you start having people who are in the science of growing plants. How can we make this apple redder? How can we make it sweeter? How can we make it better for commercial
Of course.
profits? In the THC world, how can we make this weed more psychoactive, with produce more THC, a stronger THC, and so that it is more profitable? And that's what they do. So they find, hey, this plant has a certain amount of THC, this one has a certain amount. Let's breed these two together, and maybe the baby comes out with twice as much THC. So that's kind of what's going on in that whole space. But I want
Weed 101.
Yeah, I want to share with you guys real quick 7 uses for industrial hemp, because one of the reasons that it went outlawed is because they figured out some other additives that they could use. And when it comes to naturally occurring substances, you can't patent them. So if THC is a medicine, then, and it's legal everywhere, and we know that this THC can heal just about anything, quote unquote. Well, if we can't patent it and it becomes a medicine that really heals people, then anybody can get access to it. So anybody can have their own medicine at any given time. So then it becomes,
you don't want that.
Well, if it becomes illegal, then we can send you to jail for having it. So now I don't go and get my own medicine. I have to go and pay for the medicine that you create, right? In addition to that, so that's one reason. Another reason that the conspiracy theories, like myself and other people, say that it got banned is because of the industrial uses, right? So cotton came on the scene, and we started making everything with cotton, right? Versus hemp. And the oils that are used to create inks and dyes and plastics also came onto the scene. And when there was a opportunity for people who were using hemp to do the same things, then some of the big industrialists, like it said that the DuPonts and those folks who make these solvents and plastics and things, they had a hand in banning hemp as well. Because here's 7 things that you can do with hemp that most people don't know. Number 1, hemp could be used as insulation, right? So in your houses, you have insulation. The insulation is fiberglass. And who makes fiberglass insulation? There's big companies like DuPont who makes fiberglass insulation.
Yeah.
Right? So that's one. Hemp can also be used to make sustainable fabric. Well, the country built a lot of its economic foundation on cotton. So why would I want people to be able to grow hemp and make clothes that last longer, that are stronger, that bleach won't break down, when I'm selling you all these cotton clothes that you wash them 2 times, especially if you put bleach on them, then you're gonna have to go buy some more clothes. So now you can't make these fabrics with hemp. You're making them with a lesser material. Number 3, clean cosmetics. Remember, a lot of cosmetics are oil-based, and a lot of the oils that came from, that they were basing these cosmetics on, started out as animal fats, right? And different things. So clean cosmetics can be created from hemp seed oil, which is another thing. Vegan and dairy products can be made from the same hemp seed oil. That's number 4. Number 5, eco-friendly cars and planes. Like the hemp material and fiber can be molded and crafted into anything that you could make from steel, plastic, or fiberglass. So think about it. If I had a hemp container that I was drinking my coffee in versus a styrofoam, and I threw my styrofoam away, that styrofoam never breaks down in nature.
Right.
That plastic water bottle never breaks down in nature. I can make the same type of container from hemp, and in 2 years, it will biodegrade and go back to nature. So all of those plastic water bottles in the ocean, they'd be gone by now.
All the whales with the clogged blowholes.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Hemp plastic. The cellulose from hemp stems can be used to make bioplastic. Hemp plastic can be biodegradable and compostable. Depending on its production, it can be 100% bio-based resin or polymer. Boom. And then animal feed is number 7. So there's a whole world of hemp. And what I want for our people to understand is more about that world from an entrepreneurship standpoint. Yeah, your cousin is doing a great thing, growing and making all these edibles, right? That's cool, right? That's one lane, but that's usually the only lane that we see in the marijuana space. Either I'm going to be a grower, or I'm going to own me a dispensary, or I'm going to sell the products. That's usually it. Ain't nobody in our culture saying, man, I'm going to get these hemp bricks popping, and I'm going to start building houses with these hemp bricks. Ain't nobody talking about, man, I'm going to start making me some hemp containers so all the Black-owned restaurants can serve their food and not styrofoam, but hemp containers. And now we're eco-friendly. Nobody talking and having those conversations because this history has pretty much been hidden from us. So it's bigger than smoking and having people getting high and all of that kind of stuff. It's a rich history. And there's a huge fight about how much of the hemp they're going to let back into the society for everybody to access.
Now, I know we close on time, but this question just still stays in my mind. If hemp has no THC in it, it's the sister plant that's not. It's just so it's more about the control, the economic control, than it is about anything else. Why don't they just go on and do it and control that too then? Right. If it's stuff that's biodegradable and it'll enhance the planet and all yada yada yada, why don't they just go ahead and do like they do everything else instead of banning it? Just go ahead and control it. Or is it that they can't control the growth of it? They can't,
Well, I think they can. I think it just comes down to certain people have big money in oil and plastics. Yeah. And at the end of the day, there was a quote that I saw on Facebook not long ago that says, poor people vote, rich people lobby. Right? Poor people vote.
Wow.
Rich people lobby. So when you got tens of millions up to billions of dollars to sway legislation, like, hey, the legislation is up. We got to make this decision on what we're going to do with hemp. We're going to let it back in or no. And I'm someone like a JP Morgan company or a DuPont or some of these other companies that makes the plastics and the resins and all of this stuff. And I'm like, man, shoot, no, let's throw $5 billion to get that killed. Wait a minute, you might be saying, man, $5 billion to get a legislation killed? Yeah, because if it doesn't get killed, it's going to cost my company $100 billion. So yeah, I spent $5 billion on lobbyists to go out to Capitol Hill and say, hey, kill that legislation so that my business keeps running. And I don't care about what y'all say about these plastics destroying the planet. These plastics is making me a billionaire. So kind of how it goes. So it's bigger than smoking. The smoking is one side, but I'm hoping that we start to understand this other side, because guess what? Your cousin who's growing, he might not even realize that you're growing, and what they sell is the flower of the marijuana plant. So they cut the flower off and they throw everything else away. You're throwing away $1 billion worth of stuff, and you don't even know it. You cut the flower off, you take the rest of that plant, and you get it processed into the material that can make clothes, get it processed into the material that can make plastic, get it processed. So you growing the hemp, and when you cut your flower off, you're going to sell your hemp-based products in what? Some sort of plastic container? Well, hell, take the stem from the plant that you just grew from, turn that into plastic, and then put your hemp plant in your own plastic too, and then put it on the marketplace.
Man, you know what? I'm gonna just put this additive out there. He's been so weed forever, but now that he's growing it, doing it legal, he's never smoked a day of his life, and I think that's why
it's like that. It's like that because I don't think the CEOs and founders of these pharmaceutical companies, I don't think they take their own shots. I don't think they take their own medicine out. They're like, nah, I wish I would take one of them pills.
I'm not doing that.
I know where that came from. I got the history on that. I know what that really is.
I got the white paper. I got the white paper on it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here on the St. Louis Hustle podcast. Hopefully you learned something today. I wanted to just share that with you guys from that standpoint so you see both sides of this marijuana debate. It's so much bigger than you getting high. It's so much bigger than taxing the person who is buying marijuana. This thing is way bigger than that. Remember, there is a 420 event going on tomorrow. If you're interested in that, go to Eventbrite and just search blunts versus joints, and you can buy a ticket for $40. They're going to have free food, hookah, live music, not live music, a live DJ, and a whole lot going on at the Graffiti Loft downtown St. Louis. So until we talk to you next time, I want you to get your money up because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, you deserve to do it, each and every single one of you. So hustle up.